Today's episode is sponsored by the NBA and their quest to advance the game of basketball, grow the community, and impact culture. The league celebrates its teams, players, and fans across the past, present, and future as part of its 75th anniversary season. That's Game highlights pivotal moments on court and beyond, from iconic plays and arenas to the impact players have in the community. That's the NBA. That's Game. Like in the NBA Finals when the Bucks had their backs against the wall. Jrue Holiday steals the ball, pushes the break, alley-oop to Giannis for an iconic slam, seals Game 5 and the eventual title. That's the NBA. That's Game. This is more than just basketball. It's what connects us all and keeps us coming back for more. That's the NBA. That's Game.
The Athletic.
Hello and welcome to From The Rookery End, a podcast brought to you by The Athletic. It's about a life following Watford, and hey, we'll follow them anywhere. We'll follow them in the Premier League, in the FA Cup, hey, even in the Carabao Cup, which we have just done as Watford have won at 1-0 at home to Crystal Palace in the second round of the Carabao Cup. My name is John. With me this evening is Mike.
We'll follow them all the way to Wembley, John. It's written, I tell you, it's happening.
All the way again. And DCW.
God, it's nice to be back here, outside the Hornets shop after a game, and even better after a victory against Crystal Palace. Come on, you Horns.
The victory wasn't necessarily easy to come by. I did turn to DCW at one point, Mike. You were sat behind us doing your duties at Opta, and I said, how's anybody going to win this game? Because as the game of football goes, there were good bits from both teams. No one sort of showed a shining spell where they were going to do anything, but somehow Watford came out the victors. Yeah,
it was two very strong teams actually in the context of the Carabao Cup, which I think on one hand is important. I think we were all pleased to see the Watford side. It was kind of what we wanted in terms of giving players that we haven't seen play yet minutes, and the Palace side was really strong. I'm going to name drop here. I was talking to Tommy Mooney before the game, who funnily enough has no recollection of me saving a penalty against him. I got my phone out, I was about to show him the video, and then he pretended he did remember. And he said, Palace haven't got any choice. This is the squad they've got available. So I thought that was quite nice going into the game. But having said that, once it kicked off, as you described, John, it felt a little bit like both captains got together in the dressing room and said, come on, lads, let's just take it down a notch. No one needs anyone to get injured here. No one needs a massive spanking. No one needs to be kicking anyone up in the air. Let's just take it down a bit. And we were just talking to Geordie there about how we lost to Palace in pre-season. And I don't like to disparage the Carabao Cup or any competitive cup competition, but it did have a touch of the pre-season friendlies about it, didn't it? A little bit. And then, Watford sort of managed to hang in the game by the end of it. Crystal Palace had their Premier League starting 11 on. Benteke came on, MacArthur came on, Zaha played the full 90 minutes. And Watford managed to unlock the defence. They were the ones that had that little bit of quality. Lovely ball whipped in by Hernandez. Now is Ashley Fletcher, who I was thinking, God, he's still on, isn't he? He hasn't done much all game. But then he did exactly what a striker's supposed to do. Popped up in the right place at the right time. 1-0, bang, see you later.
Yeah, I was thinking exactly the same thing about Hernandez. I haven't seen much of him in this game. Is he going to do anything? Yep, he whipped that ball in. Was it a tap-in, DCW? Was it a tap-in at the far corner?
It wasn't a tap-in, no, because there was a little bit to do. The ball was at a slightly difficult height, and he finished it without any worries whatsoever. As Mike said, he was in the right place at the right time. I thought he was all right tonight, actually. When the problem that he and all the rest of the forwards had was they didn't get the ball much. We couldn't really get enough of the ball to supply them with the ball in good areas. And the few times that we did, he looked lively, he looked quick, he looked up for it, and that's going to give him confidence. And he's a bit of a strange one, isn't he? Because see, Dennis scored in the first game. Kucha came off the bench, scored in the first game. The attention's all been on them. And Fletcher, when he signed, it was kind of a bit of like, it's a bit interesting. That might come good. But I think we've sort of been burnt by the likes of Jerome Sinclair and others in the past. You're sort of guilty of lumping him in with those guys and thinking, he's a guy that's sort of been around the block a few times. He's, still young, but he's not really kicked on anywhere. It might come off, it might not. But that's just, he's got a goal there, a winning goal for us tonight in an important game. And he could have a part to play this season. That could give him some confidence. He could kick on.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I really wanted from this game today. I wanted those players who you expect to be bit part players in the season to get something behind them, to be able to start seeing and them seeing they could play the team. And I think the first half didn't really feel like we were a team. There were some good moments, but nothing was cohesive. You could say the same for Crystal Palace. But that forward line, Cucho starting from the front. You know, Jacob on the weekend has said he wants him to be the super sub. That's a way he can see him working. He got 90 minutes. I felt he was a little bit lost, and in fact the whole attack didn't really take off until Dennis came on. God, I don't know, he felt faster.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's because he didn't have Sarr with him, who's also quite fast, but on his own he felt so fast. That was really, for our attack, that was quite a changing moment. Taking King off and putting on Dennis.
Yeah, he was the spark. He was the catalyst. It was funny, in the 94th minute, Watford had got a throw-in in the Palace half, and he'd raced to get it. He was all full of beans, full of energy, full of adrenaline, wanting to go, and Danny Rose was going, no, mate, calm it down. But I think he was definitely the catalyst for the improvement. But I think I'm really enjoying watching these Watford striking options at the moment. At the last two games, this one included, it's been the idea of them that's kind of felt better than the actual execution. But I think we're seeing enough from players who haven't played a lot of football. Ashley Fletcher, Josh King, actually, he impressed me with just his shape, his form, the way he touches the ball, takes it in his stride and moves on. He looks like a striker. He looks like a proper striker.
He looked like that on Saturday against Brighton when he came on.
And he only had 45 minutes today, and yes, Dennis made all the difference when he came on. But I think we've seen enough from Josh King to think, well, that could be a canny signing. So from an attacking point of view, I'm quite excited. No Troy Deeney today, no Ismail Assar. João Pedro, of course, to come back. He's going to have to fight his way back in because he hasn't had much of a sniff in pre-season. He hasn't played any of the games so far this season. And everyone, I think, even Ashley Fletcher, who we definitely will be a bit part player, who got his goal today, you know, their danders will be up. And I think they've all shown that they're going to be asking questions of Cisco and knocking on the door for inclusion in the team and the squad. Just getting in the squad is going to be interesting for the strikers. So I think we've seen the signs up top are promising, really, really promising. If we can keep Emmanuel Dennis fit, you know, he throws himself around, he is quick, he landed on his back today and needed a bit of treatment. And he feels like he could be one of those slightly rogue players who could pick up an injury. So keep him fit, and I think we could be in for a little bit of fun. So attacking-wise, I think we're in for some fun and games this season if we can get the ball to him.
If. Midfield-wise, DCW, loser, as Mike lovingly put it, very tactically put it, I thought, on the weekend, the game passed him by a little bit. It didn't pass him by as much today. He played the whole game. He felt like it was a better game for him. It didn't necessarily feel like it was the redemption game for him. What about that midfield generally working? I know we saw the Cleverley coming on a bit later on, but midfield-wise, we know we've still got injuries. It still doesn't feel settled to me.
No, I think it's still a bit of an issue. I wasn't that impressed by Loser, and I really don't want to hold this against him because it's poor bloke. It's not his fault, but I just not sure he's ever going to be a success with that surname.
We had a success for years, and let's leave. I don't need to say any more.
Exactly. It just dawned on me when I said that, actually. Yeah. Success, loser, both of them are rubbish. But no, I thought he struggled a bit tonight. And look, I think a lot of them are still short of match fitness. The pre-season wasn't really a traditional pre-season still, was it? He's the guy that we paid the most money for this summer, so there's a bit of expectation on him. But I did think the first half in particular passed him by. He looked like he wanted to do the right things and he's got the right ideas, but he always wanted an extra few seconds to do it, and he wasn't quite up to speed in terms of taking the extra touch and just getting those passes off. And Thibaut, it's the first time I've seen him in the flesh as well, and he's decent. He's got some good moments in him, but I know we've talked about this at length, but it still feels to me like we missed that player like Will Hughes who can take the ball off the defence. Yeah. I think we were struggling to get out. We want to play out from the back, but we can't really, because there doesn't seem to be anyone who's willing to, or even good enough to come and collect it. short from the defenders or the goalkeeper under pressure and build the attacks from that, which is what Hughes did so superbly last season. So I think that is an issue, and it's something that we will need to address. Maybe Tufan will be that player. I'm not sure. I've not seen him much. There's still talk that we're going to go after another midfielder before the deadline next Tuesday. So there's clearly something. The midfield is clearly still on the minds of the hierarchy and of the coach and of the recruitment staff. So I think that's the big worry for me. I think, as Mike said, there's been a lot of encouraging signs for the forward players, despite the performance and the defeat against Brighton and conceding 2 goals against Villa. I don't think the defence have disgraced themselves at all. Whoever's played so far this season, really, maybe Messina's not been fantastic, but I think midfield. I think that is still the area that we need to sort of sort out still at this stage of the season.
Yeah, things still a bit settling and nailing down. Some players not playing to their strengths, but hey, that's what another week of the transfer window's for. Defensive though, Mike, particularly, across the defence, felt so much more better. Now, the question for me is that because of the wing-backs, or is that because of one man in the middle who, I think he lost a bit of his power in the second half because his man Bunn slipped out slightly and it turned into a ponytail. But Sierralta in that centre-back, his positioning is just beautiful.
I don't think anyone's got any concerns about Sierralta. I think he looks eminently equipped to step up to the Premier League. I don't even think he had any problems tonight against anyone he faced, including Benteke when he came on, who's obviously a challenge. So I think Sierralta is, as we all hope and expect, he's an absolute Rolls Royce of a centre-back. And if I was Xisco Munoz, when I'm looking at defenders, he's the first name on the team sheet for me. I think it was great to see him back today. As long as the only thing that slips is his man bun, then I think we'll be absolutely happy. But yeah, really interesting. It was either side of him that was really fascinating to see. And
Danny Rose on the left. Dieter was already criticised. Messina not necessarily being the best. What about Danny Rose for you? Just worked for me, was a Premier League player doing Premier League things, making the best choices in a calm manner, efficient. At one point he got the ball near him, he didn't, literally it was a second between it bouncing in front of him and he put the ball in to the box exactly where you want him to do it.
DCW wants to come in here, so I'll keep it brief. I want to agree with what you said. I think his Premier League quality showed tonight. The simple touches, whether it was taking himself out of danger or indeed beating a man and finding a little bit of space to set up an attack. And I think it was his ball to Hernandez, wasn't it, that set up the goal. And he just knew what he was doing. I thought there was one bit where he scooped the ball away, left his legs there and won the foul. Cute little things like that. And that was probably as sound a debut. We can't get over the top. We've won the game. We're excited. We're all smiling. It's great. It's a lovely balmy August evening. We're into the next round of the Cup, where we can't go over the top with these performances. It was a notch down in terms of intensity, but 90 minutes in the tank for Danny Rose, and I thought there was just what I enjoyed with those little bits of Premier League experience and quality that were on show.
No, I completely agree with both of you about Danny Rose. I was really impressed with him tonight, and so I'd spoken to a Newcastle fan, a friend of mine in the summer, who was not complimentary about him at all from the spell that he had there. And I think we need to remember that he hasn't played a competitive game of football since the back end of the 1920 season. He didn't play any football for Spurs last season. Didn't get in their 25-man squad either at the start or the middle of the season. So clearly, physically, he's got some work to do. You could see he was struggling a bit, I think, towards the end. He was coming over to the touchline a lot, getting water. He looked like he was blowing a little bit, and that's to be expected. But what's not in doubt is his quality. The efficiency of his passes, as you say, John. He doesn't need the extra touch. He can play first time if he needs to, and it goes exactly where he wants it to go. It fizzes in there. It's crisp. He can put a good ball in if he wants to go longer, cross from deep. He put a lovely little ball around the outside of his foot down for Cucho, which led to the goal. He has got Premier League quality. The bloke played in a World Cup semi-final three years ago. So he's been there, he's done it. He needs to get physically up to scratch. But we're going back to his old home on Sunday against Spurs.
Old boy rule wins. Old boy rule.
I'd be tempted to see. Maybe physically he's not, what we'd be coming up against the likes of Son or Lucas Moura, so it could be tough for him. But I think, I'm encouraged by what we've seen there. And if he can get up to speed in terms of his fitness soon, I think we have got a real good player on our hands there.
The question is, do you take his Premier League know-how and all that comes with it, and a slight lack of fitness over Adam Messina and his sort of getting caught out of position and rashness on occasion. So I think he's played himself into contention, absolutely, certainly. We no idea what the fitness levels are like. We don't see the training ground, but I think it's a real difficult decision for Xisco. But I'd be tempted to go with him just for that experience, just to shore it up after a pretty chastening afternoon at Brighton. It gives that back line with Sierralta coming in as well a little bit of extra heft and belief and understanding. So yeah, it'd be fascinating to see what happens.
At right back, of course, we saw 60 minutes from Jeremy Ngakia. And we saw another 30 minutes. My maths are quite good. From Kiko Femenia. DCW, again, you didn't get 90 minutes of either of them. It just feels better. And Jacob said it on the weekend. It feels better to have a right back playing right back rather than Craig Cathcart. Do you feel, though, that from what you saw is going to change Xisco's mind enough to not start Craig Cathcart on the weekend?
Again, I'm not sure. I think Cathcart's the conservative option, but as I just said there, Spurs they've got some quick, pacey players. They've got Mora, they've got Son, they've got Bergwijn, that front three. You don't want Craig Cathcart a fullback, so I think he is going to need to think about that. He's going to have to put one of Firmino and Ngakia in. They're both quick enough. Ngakia's a strange one to me. He's kind of, he was in the team, wasn't he, at the start of last season, and he was it sort of felt like a little bit of a coup for us getting him from West Ham when he signed. I wonder if he's regretting that move now, looking at West Ham, but he wouldn't get in the team anyway. But he feels like the slightly forgotten man to me. Obviously, Kiko stayed. We thought he might leave at the start of last season. He stayed, and he was obviously a big mainstay of that promotion side. And I still think Kiko should be first choice. I know Mike's spoken about Kiko's weaknesses, his defensive weaknesses, and I think you saw against Zaha, he had a few dodgy moments even when he first came on. So I think he needs to still get up to speed as well. But if I was choosing between the two, I think I'd still go with Kiko. I know he has his moments where he leaves the back door open, perhaps, but I think he does give you that threat going forward. And I just, rightly or wrongly, I trust him a bit more than Ngakia at the moment. I did see that Ngakia looked like he was very disappointed and angry to come off when he did. He sort of threw the ball away because he was just about to take a throw in. He threw the ball away, had to do the long walk all the way around the pitch. So he's clearly motivated, clearly a bit annoyed that he came off, and he's obviously, I'm sure he believes that he should be the first choice right back, but for me, I don't think he's quite there.
Here's a question for you, John. So Kiko Firmino is obviously much better going forward, and does that sort of almost taking the game to the opposition, regardless of who it is, closing that gap between the defence and the midfield, trying to play the game further up the pitch? And Kiko will definitely leave the back door open. I had my head in my hands when Zaha he didn't know where he was, quite frankly. He was too good for Kiko for those initial tussles. But he's great going forward, and that gives the opposition something to worry about. He can bomb on, he has got pace, he can pick a pass, and he's got a lovely touch. So I just wonder whether we might be able to overlook his defensive frailties, if you like, in turn for a real bold approach with him.
I think if we play three at the back, and he's therefore a proper traditional wing back, with three centre-backs, that probably feels like the best thing to do against someone like Spurs, asking them the questions, give them something more to think about.
Take it to him, baby.
Take it to him, all the way to White Hart Lane, or whatever it's called these days. Goalkeeper-wise, Foster, of course, clean sheet. No camera in the goal. It took me about 15 minutes to look myself to check, will there be any in-goal action? But DW, it's an amazing place we're at, with Barkman being so good in the last half a season, but Ben's ready there for if and when needed.
Yeah, he made a few good saves tonight, actually. It was one in the second half he made with his feet. Might have been
He won the first half as well, yeah.
From Ayew or Benteke. He looked sharp, he looked fit, he looked up for it. Looked like not been at all distracted by his YouTube antics. His great success that he's had with his YouTube channel. So it's good that he's there, and that he's obviously at a stage in his career where he's probably happy to be the backup, come in for these cup games. Although maybe he disagrees, maybe he wants to play every game. I'm sure he wants to, but he's a great backup to have, I think, at this stage in his career. And for us to bring someone in, how many games have we seen, these cup games, where you bring in someone who isn't quite ready? So you bring in someone like him, and you know, okay, you've got a leader out there, you've got someone you can rely on, and if he does have to step into the first team in the Premier League at any point, he's still more than good enough to play there.
He's just a bloke with a camera. I did quite enjoy that from the Palace fans. That was one of the better chants from their travelling fans this evening. But yeah, again, know how experience helped see the game through.
There was some lovely time wasting at the end as well. Just pulling the socks up at the goal kick.
Absolute king, isn't he? The absolute king.
From the Rookery End, a podcast about life following Watford FC.
It is the Carabao Cup. Of course, cup games are magical things. Well, are they Carabao Cup? I don't think we're allowed to be magical. Only the FA Cup can be magical. But this is a time where we had a Mike, we asked today, roll call, who's going, tell us who's going. Lots of people here. It wasn't quite full. What was attendance at the end?
9,011, John. 9011. 9,011. Thank you very much for your superb support this evening. We'll see you here again when the visitors are Wolverhampton Wanderers.
But we saw lots of kids again.
Yeah, and it was amazing. And in the response to those tweets, there was at least, I think, 3 or 4 people who were saying that their kids are coming for the very first time, which was such a thrill, such a buzz. Met one of them tonight, Louis. Hello, Louis. And what I loved about this, Louis, a young lad, much younger than Arlo, and he predicted, he was there in all his Watford gear, all yellow, all smiley, all happy. I said, what's your prediction? And he said, 1-0 Palace. And I'm, mate, you will fit right in. You found your home, my friend. So hello, Louis, and everyone he was with. Just great to see all those kids.
And your first game, DCW, was a second round. What was it called then? Was it the Rumbelows Cup?
No, it was the Coca-Cola Cup.
Okay.
For me, and that was September 1995 or October 1995 against then Premier League champions Blackburn Rovers. Oh. And when I came out of the concourse tonight, I looked at the pitch. I thought, there we go. I've travelled back in time, 26 years or whatever it is. We're wearing a Blackburn Rovers kit tonight, Palace.
And it is an amazing, cup. From the first run of the FA Cup for me was amazing in 1986, 1987 because it was the semi-final. But this Carabao Cup, we've chatted about it, but it's never really been a thing that people have loved. Cup competitions like this were started because people get excited about midweek games the first time because of the European Cup competition that had been started. As Colin said, everyone had started in floodlights, so let's start playing some games in the middle of the week. Back in 1960s, the year before it came, the London Times said this about the Cup.
Where a drastic reduction is required in an attempt to raise quality, no doubt quantity and a further spread of mediocrity will be the dose. Where men like Count Bernabeu, with his wider horizons, think in terms of a European League for the future in which a lead could surely now be given jointly by our leaders, the Football League proposed next season to implement their useless Football League Cup to be played in midweek. It gets the players, the clubs and the public nowhere.
It's not popular, let's say, comparatively, DCW, especially according to the magic of the FA Cup. But for clubs, do you think, what is it, this cup competition, or generally cup competitions, what's it worth to football clubs?
It's great if you get to the latter stages. It would be amazing if we got to the final, and it's possible. Teams like Premier League, sort of lower, mid-table to lower Premier League teams have made it to the final. Birmingham City won it in 2011, right? 10 years ago. Swansea won it. I was at that game. They beat Bradford City in the final that year, who were in League One at the time. Or they might even have been in League Two, I think, maybe even.
But that year was at Man City. Yeah.
But obviously Man City have hoovered it up over the last several years. But I think this season as well, it's as you saw Vieira talking about the game tonight, saying that he wanted to play most of his first team because they still needed games. They haven't had a pre-season. I think that's the same with us. We gave, as we've spoken about tonight, we've given players minutes and a chance to play in a proper game, and it can feel like you can get in the way. We've all been to so many shit games over the years where we've played Bradford and we've played Notts County and we've played
Bournemouth,
Port, and Wickham and all sorts of games over the years, and it feels a bit lethargic and a bit weird and a bit a bit rubbish. But
were you more interested and up for this game then?
Well, I was up for it because it was my first time here,
properly
since like the Christmas of 2019, whatever it was. So I was bang up for it. But also, like on the other side, as many memories of lethargic, disappointing defeats or even narrow victories I've got of this competition, some of my best ever memories of being a Watford fan were that cup run to the semi-finals of the League Cup in 2005, was it? We beat Southampton, we beat Portsmouth when they were both in the Premier League. Fantastic. We lost to Liverpool in a two-legged semi-final, but we only lost lost to Liverpool 1-0 at the Vic, and it was a great atmosphere. And it's not that different from the FA Cup, really, in terms of the amount of games you need to win, the quality of the opposition. On average, it might even be a bit higher, sort of across the whole board in the League Cup. And I think I know the Premier League is king, and I'm sure Mike will talk about this, but I understand why teams sometimes don't take it seriously. But it's nice to win games of football, isn't it? If you can win them, win them. And if you can go all the way or as far as you can, it's great.
I always think this particular competition, the League Cup, playing games early in the season, we've seen today opportunity for first team players to get it, not down the 23s, that we sort of feel like we always get in the third round of the FA Cup. There's a massive long stretch of games that you get in any league, Championship or in the Premier League, in December all the way through to the new year, and it's like, hey, it's a chance to have a week off. But this game, the Carabao Cup, how do you feel about it? Do you think the attitude of fans is right?
Well, it's interesting hearing that clip from the Times from back in the day. I don't know if that was the original narrator from back
Just Colin.
But because I was always of the opinion as a supporter that as fans, as fellow fans, we gave up on the League Cup a little bit too easily. It felt like we were told by Manchester United and perhaps some of the other teams that were at the top at that time that it was a lesser competition because they weren't playing their best teams. And it kind of felt like, well, OK, Man United aren't, but it was them at that time, wasn't it, really, 20, 25 years ago? It felt like, OK, well, Man United aren't interested, so we ought to stop going. Whereas I'm like, if Watford are playing, I really want to be there, and I really want us to win. So I just wonder, as a footballing community, whether we've sort of cast it aside a little bit too easily, because as we've spoken about, great memories. I was down at Bournemouth Dean Court when Kevin Phillips got beaten up by the police. We won on penalties and the police thought he was a pitch invader, so cuffed him around the ear and it was Kevin Phillips on the bench. So there's been great memories, a real chance for silverware. So I would get a little bit frustrated. It was a small crowd tonight, 9,000, and we see that it's an opportunity for youngsters to come along, families to come, it's cheaper tickets. Why wouldn't you? And I know you've got to weigh it up in between paying for your season ticket, paying for other stuff. If you want to go away to Tottenham at the weekend and perhaps take your kids there, it's going to cost you a pretty penny. And perhaps if you can save 30, 40 quid by not coming tonight, then that's understandable. But I just wonder whether we gave up too early as the footballing fan fraternity, whether we gave up too early back in the day. But I think in the context of tonight, I think it was really important for Watford, and this is a point Geordie made before kick-off. Lose tonight against a strong Palace side, and that's a bad week. That's a really bad week. Yeah. As it is, we're going into Tottenham. Hopeful, I think, is stretching it a little bit, but with more kernels of optimism than we had coming out of Brighton and Hove Albion on Saturday. So if you play it right, I think credit to both managers tonight. Patrick Vieira didn't have a choice. He had to play who he's got. He hasn't got anyone else. And Gisco Muniz has shuffled his pack. Troy Deeney's watching at home, which is obviously an interesting one. But he's played a strong side as well, as you say, John. No under-23s. I think they've got it right tonight, both clubs. And it's served Watford well. Palace, all their supporters will be saying, glad to be out of it. Never cared about it anyway. There's no rivalry with Watford.
Cheerio, Palace.
Yeah, which the first thing they were singing about was, did you cry at Wembley, and all that sort of nonsense. They don't care about us. No, of course they don't. I think in the context of tonight, well done, Watford.
Attention, listeners across the galaxy, all the way from Australia to Houston. Do you have a pew problem?
If so, our friends from Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with their 4th generation and brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Kick your nuisance hairs into the next planet with the Performance Package 4. The orbits in your pants will feel like they are in zero gravity when you use the best tools for the job from the leading male grooming. Join 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get your rocket ready for takeoff by going to manscaped.com/EPL20 for 20% off and free shipping. That's manscaped.com/EPL20.
For a clean trinity and beyond, your balls will thank you.
The Athletic is teaming up once again with Prostate Cancer UK to help raise money and fight one of the most deadly diseases for men today. And this time, we're not just talking the talk, we're walking the walk, with 4 athletic writers putting on their hiking boots and joining Soccer Saturday legend Jeff Stelling on his March for Men this summer. Jeff's marching to save men's lives and completing 4 marathons in 4 days. Why? Because 1 in 8 men get prostate cancer, 1 in 4 if you're black. That's a dad, a granddad, a brother, a mate or a partner. The Athletic will be catching up with Jeff from Newcastle to Sunderland, in Leeds, Liverpool and then again in London to find out more about the challenge and find out why he and hundreds of supporters are raising money to beat prostate cancer. Sponsor Jeff today and help beat prostate cancer by heading to prostatecanceruk.org/Jeff's March. That's prostatecanceruk.org/JEFFSMARCH. Men, we are with you. The Athletic is teaming up once again with Prostate Cancer UK to help raise money and fight one of the most deadly diseases for men today. And this time, we're not just talking the talk, we're walking the walk, with 4 athletic writers putting on their hiking boots and joining Soccer Saturday legend Jeff Stelling on his march for men this summer. Jeff's marching to save men's lives and completing 4 marathons in 4 days. Why? Because 1 in 8 men get prostate cancer, 1 in 4 if you're black. That's a dad, a granddad, a brother, a mate or a partner. The Athletic will be catching up with Jeff from Newcastle to Sunderland, in Leeds, Liverpool and then again in London to find out more about the challenge and find out why he and hundreds of supporters are raising money to beat prostate cancer. Sponsor Jeff today and help beat prostate cancer by heading to prostatecanceruk.org/Jeff's March. That's prostatecanceruk.org/JEFFSMARCH. Men, we are with you.
Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. Yes, no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
Part of the Athletic Podcast Network. This is From The Rookery End.
So we're off to is it still called White Hart Lane? Do we still call it White Hart Lane?
Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
It's rubbish, yeah.
It's still on White Hart Lane.
Yeah, it's still white. We get a White Hart Lane on the weekend. Sunday kickoff. Thank you, European competitions. But we go to Tottenham, and what are we expecting? As part of the Athletic, we get to chat to the different correspondents from the various different clubs, and Charlie Eccleshare has shared his thoughts on what Watford can expect from Spurs on the weekend.
So in their 2 Premier League games under Nuno so far, Spurs have been pretty organised, pretty resilient. A lot more solid at the back, certainly compared to last season, which was a bit of an Achilles heel for them. They don't look as vulnerable. They've got the Højbjerg skip double pivot with Ali kind of roaming. Nominally a 4-3-3 that can become a 4-2-3-1 when they're attacking. And they've packed a punch going forward as well, often playing on the counter with the pace of Son and Mora, Bergwijn and those guys. And obviously, who knows where we'll be by the weekend, but, Kane came on at the end of the Wolves game, so he could come into that side as well, and then they're suddenly looking even more dangerous. They play as well with fullbacks, certainly on one slightly lopsided. They've got Reguilon on the left, who likes to get forward. He can be a threat. Tanganga, who's played the first couple of league games, right back's a bit more solid, a bit more reserved, but that works quite well, gives them quite a nice balance. Looking at how Watford can get one over on Spurs, something we haven't really seen so far in those league games anyway is Tottenham having to chase a game. Against City, they were comfortable at 0-0, and then they scored early in the second half, and from then on could play on the counter and had that real threat. Obviously against Wolves, they took the lead early, and so the onus was very much on Wolves to come at them. What will be interesting is to see what this Nuno's Tottenham team look like against a team that sits back, maybe frustrates them, because if you look at their midfield, they don't really, without Ndombele and Lo Celso, who hasn't yet got fully up to speed after the Copa America, got someone who can move the ball forward particularly quickly from midfield. So I do just wonder, if Watford can frustrate them, sit back, how they'll be against that sort of deep line defence. So that's probably the biggest area of uncertainty so far, and you'd expect Watford would sit back and try and play on the counter. And so I do wonder if that will be a way they can frustrate, and then with the threat they have, get one on Spurs the other way.
DCW, give me a score out of 10 of how much Watford can get something from that game. Do you think we've got the tactical nous in our manager, the ability to pick the right, and we've got the right players for him to pick to get something from it, not to be ridiculed by one of these rich clubs?
It's going to be interesting because I think Spurs under Nuno are a team that want to play on the break a little bit. They definitely played that way against Manchester City in the first game, and they were away to Wolves in the second game, and Wolves had a lot of shots on goal and a lot of possession, so I think it suited them as well. So they've won 2 games 1-0, but they're not going to have it their way against Watford. We're going to surrender possession, I think, and maybe the two teams will sort of cancel each other out a little bit. But obviously Spurs have got a better team than us, much more quality than us, especially in forward areas, but all over the pitch really. It's going to be a difficult afternoon, but we've beaten them before. We've beaten them before when they had arguably a better team and a better manager. It might well be Harry Kane's last ever game for Tottenham. So
let's ruin the party.
Exactly. Maybe we won't see him, I don't know. But you got to go. Look, it's one of those games where you go there and you just give it everything you got and see what you come out with. I think the last time we were up in the Premier League, we lost, didn't we, to them? But we got hard done.
VAR was not our friend that day.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then the time, we've beaten them not too long ago at Vicarage Road. We've had some close games against them. Just go for it.
Well, my big thing is Mike's away this weekend, and Arlo, when we were at the Brighton on the weekend, he said the last time Watford beat Spurs in August, we were away on holiday. They're away on holiday. We're spot on. We're going to win that game just because the Parkins are away on holiday. Who do you want the next round, Mike? I don't think the draw's probably Wednesday after the Wednesday games. Do you want to use the opportunity to get a scalp?
I want to win. I want to go through, but bring on anyone.
Wembley!
Yeah.
Hey, Wembley!
Nice. Home tie. It's been brilliant tonight. There's so many people here, sort of old faces got together. So let's have a home tie. Let's have another smiley afternoon evening. Who do we want in the next round? Quick.
Huh?
Norwich.
We'll see who comes out of the pot. Remember, if you know Adam this week, he'll be back next Thursday. He will do a full rundown of everything that has gone on in this transfer window on our Thursday podcast with Adam Leventhal. And of course, if you want to keep up to date with everything that's going on, the depth, the information that's going on with Watford in the transfer window, with all the other clubs, make sure you subscribe to The Athletic by going to theathletic.com/Rookery End, where at this present moment you get a lovely 33% off. If you're aware of your fractions, that is 1/3, which works about $3.99 a month if you go and you sign up at the moment. Thank you very much, Michael.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, DCW.
Thank you.
And Arlo, you can finish.
Come on, you all!
The Athletic.
Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. Yes, no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.